November has been an awful month. Arcane went to shit. I live in a rat-infested bumfuck with a visually impaired, decaying geriatric who smells like if your dog bathed in piss. My visa application to get out of this hell pit for 30 days was rejected, but hope shall not be abandoned. Instead of doing the video everyone wants me to do, for now, I'll talk about one of my favorite movies of all time to spread a little bit of positivity. Tokyo Godfathers is the movie that late filmmaker Satoshi Kon considers his magnum opus. It's kind of a black sheep amongst his repertoire, abandoning the psychological elements in favor of a straight-up comedy, though the core themes of identity are still there. It's based on the novel The Three Godfathers, which I haven't read, that got adapted into a bunch of movies that I never watched. But from what I know, it's about a trio of bank robbers who, while fleeing from a crime, encounter a woman in labor. She tasks the three men with being the child's godfathers. The baby is delivered and she dies. I guess this is presumptuous of me, but what I think this story is about is humanity. These are three criminals who find redemption through sacrificing their own lives and well-being to save the most innocent of us. So Tokyo Godfathers came out in 2003. At the time, Japan was and still is in a financial recession, right at the end of the first lost decade. A little bit of background. So beginning in 1986, Japan had what was known as the bubble era. This is when there was huge inflation of real estate and stock market prices. Now, the cause was due to fairly loose monetary policies that the Bank of Japan and whoever wasn't exactly interested in dealing with at any proper pace, but that doesn't really matter. The GDP growth rate was like 4 to 5% a year. People really felt invincible at the time. Like, money was infinite, consumerism was rapid, it was a great time to be alive. But in 1991, the inevitable happened. The bubble burst. The stock market crashed. GDP plummeted to an average of 1.3% a year. And so began the lost decades. The increase in homelessness is one of the notable markers of this new era. Satoshi Kon didn't just view the recession as a loss of finances, but a loss of vitality, the will to live, humanity as a whole. As such, homelessness in Tokyo Godfathers isn't just a loss of finances, but the loss of glory. In Tokyo Godfathers, I did not intend to view the homeless as representatives of the weak or unfortunate, or as a hindrance to society. I view them as symbols of weakness and regret that everyone has, rather than as real homeless people. So our film stars three main characters: Gin, a middle-aged alcoholic; Hana, a flamboyant transgender woman; and Miyuki, a sardonic teenage runaway. The bottom of the rungs in a civilized society. Perhaps the most incorruptible people in Tokyo because they have nowhere further to fall. They've gotten so used to their washed-up state that they can't even smell their own stink. And I mean that in a symbolic way. Their usual lives get shaken up when they find a baby abandoned on the streets with a simple note requesting that she be taken good care of. Hana names her Kyoko as a symbol of her purity. As I said about the Three Godfathers, a newborn is quite literally untouched from the evils of the world, purely innocent. And it is this innocence that leads the three bad people to sacrifice themselves and gain redemption. Now, I wouldn't say Hana, Gin, or Miyuki are terrible people. I wouldn't say that Hana, Gin, or Miyuki are bad people in the sense that their redemption isn't to save them from evil or make them repent for their sins, but it's more of a reclamation of their identities, who they once were versus what they are now. You know, the weakness and regrets everyone has. And in order to fix themselves, they need to restore what made them lose themselves in the first place: their families. Despite their less than pleasant attitudes with each other, our main trio all act as though they are a family. This is demonstrated quite early on when some other homeless dudes back off of Miyuki because she's Gin's princess. Kon had a condition that they look like a family despite not being blood related. When asked why he chose found family, this is what Kon had to say. When I was making Tokyo Godfathers, I didn't make a big deal out of searching for a new image of family for the future. I think I was just interested in the relationship between Gin, Hana, and Miyuki with the idea that it's okay to have a family with this kind of connection. I don't like to present things like future families are like this or should be like this. And I don't think I can propose such a model. If I had to say, I would say that it is necessary to explore each person's own way of being a family without having such a fixed model. 3 of them can be summed up in this exchange.
私は好きで家出してんの。
半年も路上で暮らしゃ立派なホームレスだ。
その気になれば帰れるうちがあるもん。
そう言っててその気になったやつなんかいねえのよさ。
Their homelessness is really a self-imposed exile from their families. I'll start with our resident drunkard, Gin. Fat, extremely crass, and even violent at times. Gin is that moldly cumsock stuck to the bottom of the barrel. He offers a pretty typical tale for his debasement. A young, healthy man marries a beautiful woman and they have a daughter together. What they lack in money, they make up for in love. It's like heaven on earth. But suddenly, at happiness's peak, tragedy strikes. And the girl falls deathly ill. He enters a bicycle race, the prize money being what will save his daughter. He blows it. And his wife goes not long after. Having lost everything to the world's senseless cruelty, one noble man is reduced to what we see today. Except, that was a fucking lie. His only time on the track was to gamble. His addiction caused debt to pile up. He was approached by the guy who got shot at the wedding and took part in a get-rich-quick scheme that fell through. And out of shame, he abandoned his wife and daughter, believing that they would be better off without him. He fabricates this past because, besides the transphobic remarks, he does care how Hana sees him. But also these lies make him avoid reality. His circumstances were not out of his control. It was his fault that he was in debt. He didn't have to leave his family. His ego was just too fragile. And it is through confronting the truth that he has to accept responsibility. And this leads him back to his family again. Next up, our eldest daughter, Miyuki. In all honesty, Miyuki has the most valid reason to be homeless. Attempted murder is a serious fucking offense. Although given her age, I don't think she would get that harshly punished. But I don't think a 15-year-old is reading up on all the nuances of Japanese penal code. But anyways, Miyuki begins the film as a very mouthy, insolent, bratty teenager, not very appreciative of the way that Gin and Hana take care of her, brushing off the latter's Christmas present. Same goes for her biological parents, like she calls her mother by her first name and makes fun of the way she prays. Still, underneath that harsh exterior lies a little girl racked with guilt over hurting her father. What marks the two's relationship is miscommunication. She feels her dad doesn't care for her at all, and so when her literal angel goes missing, she just snaps and blames him for everything. I think with Kyoko, Miyuki sees the purity and the nurturing she receives and starts to think back to how everyone else has done their part in protecting her. I think especially the tenderness of the Spanish woman and perhaps the language barrier makes her more willing to admit her shame over what she had done. And now she's able to really understand just how much Hana and Gin care about her. She realizes that her father loved her all along. This is confirmed with a newspaper strip she finds of her dad begging her to come home. Angel is back. And by the end of the movie, she's replaced her bitterness with hope and love for humanity. And while we don't see the aftermath, we just assume the reunion with her dad went well. Hana, or Hana-chan as Kon likes to call her, differs a lot from the other two in that she ain't got a biological family. She was abandoned at birth, and it is the desire to make sense of being forsaken that makes her want to go on this journey to find Kyoko's mother, rather than bringing her straight to the police. Because what Hana is all about is love. She feels the circumstances don't matter as long as she gets to love. Nurturing Kyoko fulfills a long-held dream of hers to be a mother. It doesn't matter if her husband was no good or their financial situation wasn't too bright. Having a daughter to take care of would be enough. Hana parallels herself to the Blue Devil who sacrifices connection for someone they love.
でも、さてどうすんのさ。花さんはどこ行くのさ。
みんな本当の家族のところに帰るのが一番よ。清子ももうすぐお母さんに会える。
その後は？だって花さん、本当の家族いないじゃん。
Despite that, it's pretty clear that Hana wants to be loved herself. The entire reason she's on the street is her husband, Ken, dying suddenly. She sees herself in Kyoko and wants her to find a loving family to fulfill what she never had. Once Kyoka gets just that, her role as the Blue Devil would have her trek out on her lonesome, but she doesn't have to. She finds love again by reuniting with her adoptive family, and of course her pseudo-family in Gin and Yuki. Okay, I think I've gotten through the background and major thematic elements and message of the movie, so I'm just gonna explain the style and why it's good, and if you haven't watched the film by this point, why not? As I said before, while Tokyo Godfathers abandons the surrealist dreams versus reality themes of his previous works and also his works afterwards, Tokyo Godfathers is explicitly not realistic. I'm not just talking about the haha funny faces. Let me just use an example. So 100 Years of Solitude just recently got adapted into a miniseries, and the original novel is known for pioneering the genre of magical realism. Essentially the mundane reality with an undercurrent of supernatural, treated just as mundanely, oftentimes making for a dreamlike story.
この時期だけは神様もお忙しだね。
一年中暇よりマシだわよ。
Kyoko, a holy infant, so tender and mild, with a beauty mark on her forehead that looks like the Buddha's urna, which is an auspicious mark. Her presence literally interrupts the three's fighting and pretty much immediately increases their luck. An idea that Satoshi Kon kept in mind was animism, the attribution of souls to the inanimate, with a secret protagonist, Tokyo, watching over our pseudo-family. Tokyo Godfathers is a sort of isekai, with the baby as Truck-kun leading them into the other world where the magical elements seep in, an otherworld defined by a string of coincidences, the core motif of this film along with fate. The events of the film come off as quite random and episodic in their nature, but they come together to lead Hana, Gin, and Miyuki back to their families. I said Kyoko increased their luck. I never specified which. Quick question. Let's say a person has survived 3 plane crashes. Is it lucky that they survived all 3 crashes, or unlucky that they even got into 3 crashes in the first place? Back to the movie, they get kicked out of a store for being homeless, but wait, an ambulance was just about to crash into where they were sitting. But hold on again, Hana falls ill, and her hospital bills amount to all of Gin's hard-earned money. But don't look away yet. This is the hospital where Gin's doctor works. The film has them end with a winning lottery ticket, but all that bad stuff happening before makes it feel earned. They first had to regain their mental wealth, their vitality, before regaining their physical wealth. Kon intended that the audience regain their will to live alongside Hana, Gin, and Miyuki, and indeed I did. This film is a master of pathos. It's not like some low-quality melodrama that thinks loud music and obnoxious crying scenes are gonna make me feel sad as I stare at the cue card that reads, "Now cry." No, Tokyo Godfathers appeals to the struggles we all face, we all go through. Did I have the biggest grin on my face as Sachiko's husband talked her down from suicide with a promise of a better life? Yes. Do all the loose ends tie up in a somewhat saccharine way? Also yes. But does it all do this masterfully? Absolutely. As such, this movie deserves to be among the Christmas classics, such as It's a Wonderful Life. And if you've reached this far and still have not watched the movie, what are you doing? So yeah. I'm a YouTuber. Like this video, subscribe. Happy holidays, y'all.